This is the Mediate Now with Winter Wheeler. Your clear choice for expert mediation and negotiation advice. But it's so much more than that. Take our advice, you will improve your entire life. Are you ready? Let's get to it. Thank you for tuning in to the Mediate Now. My guest today is Jazmin Addy. She is a professional recruiter, HR advisor, and career strategy coach. She spent more than a decade in the business of people, connecting passion with purpose for career success. Jazmin provides tailored recruiting and human resources solution for every business size, as well as mentors individuals to realize their professional best. Jazmin spent the early part of her career at one of the largest privately held staffing agencies in the country. As a proven relationship builder, she was promoted to branch manager, where she developed and led a team of recruiters and doubled branch profits year over year. Jazmin received the individual national award for recognition of her outstanding work across the agency. In early 2018, Jazmin set out on her own, starting Proximity Partners with the desire to serve clients, companies, and individuals deeper and more intentionally. Her company culture provides that big professional agency field, but with the personalized attention a small firm provides. Proximity Partners supports a multitude of industries, including banking, marketing, legal, consumer products, information technology, healthcare, professional services, and more. When Jazmin is not running Proximity Partners, she spends her free time remaining physically active, including running in half and full marathons. Jazmin also is a movie buff and enjoys spending time with her two children. Thank you, Jazmin, for being with us. Welcome.
Thank you for that wonderful introduction.
You earned every second of it, girl. Are you kidding? And really what has me blown, and it blows me every time. The half marathon stuff, I get winded after about 4 miles.
Right. Okay. So let me give you a little bit of grace, right?
Okay.
Fully qualified to do that, but it's like anything. You're just building your endurance, right? So you went to undergrad, you went to law school, but you had to build that endurance. That's exactly what training for marathon and half marathon. It's just building. It's learning how to. You're building endurance in your lungs. That's it. Same skill set.
Mm-hmm. In my lungs, girl. I'm not only am I winded, I'm in pain.
I know, right?
But I get you. I hear it. I'm so happy that you're here. I've really been looking forward to recording this. You have no idea, because I didn't tell you.
I did not know. I'm super excited too. Super.
Okay, perfect. Yay. So I want to start out, because I've read a lot about Proximity Partners, but I want to start out by asking you, what brought you to decide to open Proximity Partners?
That's a really good question. So I always had this, for lack of a better word, this itch or just this desire to have my own company. God always put that on my heart. But I never knew exactly what that was going to be. My father, he's a physician and he had his own practice for many years. So I always had that entrepreneurial spirit, but I didn't know exactly what I wanted to do. And this was in me for 10 plus years. So when I started recruiting, I just developed a love for it. And it was 2018. And at the time we were relocating from Charlotte to Atlanta. Mm-hmm. And God literally put it on me Jazmin, now is the time. Now is the time to be able to start a company, build the culture that you want. And essentially that's what happened. I believe that life is a series of rhythms, and jump into that rhythm, because if not, you could miss it and never have that opportunity again. So I just knew I wanted to build a company that really supported individuals in their career search, and also companies, kind of align those. I always say create that marriage between individuals looking for positions and companies looking for people to help grow their brand. So I decided that I wanted to do it my way, and you can only do it your way when you have your own company.
100%, because otherwise you got people to answer to. Who needs that? Who needs that? Um, that is fantastic. So is that like your company philosophy, company culture kind of thing? That's really what you base everything that you do on, right?
Right, finding the right people at the right time for the right company, right? Because life is all about timing. And it's so finding people where they are in their search, yes, and then companies that want that exact talent. So, yes, my philosophy is really about people. I'm really in the business of people and I love people. I'm fascinated by people. And so that's what drives me. That's what propels me to, and I don't care about one more than the other, right? Some companies, they push the client side where we care about the company. Others really push the candidate side. And I'm just grateful enough that I have the spirit to really love both.
That is wonderful. I love that. I'm in the business of people as well, in a very different way. But, mediation does require a love of people. You better love people because you're going to meet so many different kinds, and have to deal with them and work with them and try to bring out the best in them and support them and all of that. So, when you're doing that in your capacity, how do you do that? How do you bring about the best in someone? How do you make sure you're connecting with someone and making sure you're finding the right fit?
This is a good question. So it's a couple parts, right? So first off, in terms of finding, right? So I have to attribute and give thanks to my expertise, because really you can only become an expert in something when you have experience. So I always say expertise is derived from the word experience. So because I've been doing it, 11, 12 years, I just have an experience. I've been exposed to so many different kinds of people, clients as big as Wells Fargo, as small as a one-person company. So that is how I'm able to find, right? Just the network I've built, the places I know how to find people that, the average person is not going to know because they don't do it. Now, in terms of how I always like to say how I'm able to disarm people is I really believe in all aspects of life. You've got to meet people where they are. Many times we want to bring them to us, but truly compassionate and loving people, they meet them where they are. And so whenever I meet someone, I'm quickly able to gauge where they are in their life, right? Because a lot of where they are in their career has to do where they are in their life. And so I just meet them where they are, and I connect with them because we all want connection, right? No matter what race we are, age, life trends, we just want to feel like we've been seen. And so I really always want people to feel very seen when they talk to me.
I love that because it reminds me so much of how I connect with people as well. And meeting people where they are is key. Mm-hmm. So, you've got to consider their cultural background, their social background, what's happening in their life right now, what is motivating them immediately. And that's the only way you can really meet them. And so you must have an amazing intuition or be exceptionally empathic to do this. Do you consider yourself either of those things?
I think that's my gift, right? So I don't always have right, when I think about you, right, as an attorney, I don't always have the gift of attention to detail. I will read something 100 times and still miss the fact that is doesn't have an I in front of that S, right? So, and I'm honest with myself. I'm very self-aware, but I will say my gift is that I'm a highly sensitive person. So when I say highly sensitive, I don't mean cry all the time, which I mean, I do that too at times, depending on what it is, right? But,
yeah, I do that too.
But really, I can feel the energy. I feel people's energy. So yes, I would say that's a gift. That's my gift. I'm very grateful for it.
Yeah, I mean, feeling people's feelings, mm-hmm. That is a sign of being an empath. So I have that too. So that, doesn't it make these types of careers easier?
Yes. Yes.
It really does. It really does. But it makes the career easier, but it makes life harder.
Sadie. Don't even. Because we feel everything and we love so hard. Please, no, I could get on a whole tangent about that. Like that's, you see the triggers in me? Yes. Yes. Until we learn how to channel it, and boundaries are super important. Once we're able to hold to our boundaries, but I love the fact that we love people, right? Like that's why we're successful in what we do. And that's why we're able to meet people where they are, for sure.
Absolutely. And I think it also is a reason why we love what we do.
Yes.
You use like a natural talent that you have that sometimes can be overwhelming.
For sure.
But it's here. We can't get rid of it. It's not going away. But we're able to channel it and use it for good. And yes, the boundaries, I'm still working on a lot of that. But, when I'm able to have the appropriate boundaries, and it makes it okay. It makes it so worthwhile to be able to help people solve their problems, and to really feel that. And also, once I've helped someone and they feel better, I feel better too. So,
for sure. The happiest people are giving people, whether that's of themselves, right, in the right capacity, or financially. Yeah, those are the happiest people, for sure. Mm-hmm.
For sure. I love it. I love it. So I already asked you, like, why did you start this company, and you were telling me about the move and everything. But was there anything else that was like a real push? How was your last employment position? Was there anything happening there that caused you to want to really think about moving on and being by yourself?
Well, from a business perspective, I realized that, and again, this is just most business models. It's nothing negative, no knock to the organization, but right, there's a lot of in the positions I've held, right, there's a lot of organic business development that I was required to do, and really, any company is about creating revenue. And since I learned that skill over my entire career, it just didn't make any sense anymore to be generating the business, but only getting a fraction. So it was just, right. So, so from the perspective of a business perspective, it just made sense. It was like, hey, you know what? Instead of building this business for someone else, I should build this business and invest in myself and then invest in my family. So that's the business side of it, right? The emotional, philosophical side is right, the loving of people. And I wanted to offer services that I knew that I couldn't offer in a larger organization because, rightfully so, they have to streamline processes or create red tape. And I just wanted to have that autonomy to be able to help people however I wanted to help them.
Oh, yes, I absolutely understand that. And when we help other people, we help ourselves, especially when we own our own businesses. And, you help your family that way too. And so I would imagine that when people come to you, they're often looking for help. And the ultimate goal for them is often, I need to do this because it's better for my family. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Do you get that a lot?
Yes. It's better for their family. If I really were to scrape the bottom of the ocean, right? It's everybody has whatever triggers us, right? It always comes from a desire to feel fulfilled and or be seen by ourselves or someone else in our lives. And so I understand that, and I really get to the bottom of that, right? I listen to cues when they might talk about, just, hey, this is affecting my family, this shift or the commute. And I realize that it's not just the position. I'm going to be impacting their lives in a very visceral way. So, yes, I look at all of that.
That's amazing because I'll tell you, I've talked to so many recruiters, personally, over the past, number of years that I won't mention. Right. I've never had one ask me, really, what do you really need this job for? Mm-hmm. What are you really trying to accomplish? Mm-hmm. What is it that you need? What is it that you want? How do your needs and wants match up? What exactly do you need from a company as far as culture, as far as support? Never ever, 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 ever has anyone asked me any of those questions. So I love that you are out there doing that, really trying to help people better their lives.
Oh, for sure. And you said something that triggered something else in me is that was another reason I really wanted to start my company. I find that when you're a recruiter working in a larger organization, a really big organization, there's metrics, right? In KPIs you have to hit. And so sometimes, you're like, okay, hey, this might not be the best candidate, but I need them to get in front of this client because I'm incentivized by this. I did not want that, right? Because I did not want someone to uproot themselves out of another position or take a position just because I needed to fill a metric, right? And so that I am still very, very keen on holding that. If it is not a good fit, I will not submit that person or I will tell them why, because I do not want someone or a company to take on someone that is just not a good fit, because it's stressful, it's taxing, and it's a bit deceptive, to be honest. And I mean, I'm not perfect, right? So I'm sure I maybe have made a mistake, but I'm very clear on that, and I'm very intentional to not do that.
I love that about you. Absolutely. Because a personal experience that I had with a recruiter, this person asked me to, called me out of the blue, asked me to apply for this particular position. And I had heard some negative things about the man that I would be working with. Right. That he sexually harasses people, etc. So this was knowledge. Like, this is like known information across the city of Atlanta. Everybody knows this about this man. And so I heard that this is so crazy. I heard that, he doesn't harass everybody, so it might be okay for you. And I was like, is that really the way we're going?
When they said that.
Dead serious. Dead serious when they said it. And so first of all, that's like not acceptable at all. I don't want to work for someone who has that type of reputation. But then on top of it, like, he doesn't harass everybody, but you don't know who he's going to harass.
Exactly. Right. It's like, okay.
Right. That's not on the form he's filling out.
Okay, this one, but not this one, right? You don't even want to work in a culture like that.
Right. That tolerates that. Like, this is his reputation in the city and you tolerate that. I don't want anything to do with it. And it took a lot of courage, I suppose, courage to tell the recruiter, this is what I hear about him. There's absolutely no way that I can do that. And like, if you don't have something else, then no, we're not. No. And that has to be really hard for people who are, potentially desperate, looking for a position. And so I love that you are kind of gatekeeping and making sure that you protect people and try to put them where they will actually feel supported.
And protect the companies, right? Because they're entrusting this to me as well, right? So I don't want them to hire someone. And again, I mean, it's people. So people can have done things. I have seen it all. Let me just say, I have seen, heard it all, right? But, right, I'll protect the companies, right? Because they're entrusting this search with me. And so if anything's a bit off, or I'll say, hey, this is what I think. And I let them make the decision, right? Wouldn't that be better if people let us make the decision? They didn't make the decision for us, right? In all areas.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely. So I want to dive a bit more into this concept of, how you handle people who are arriving in your office, in your space, looking for help. And they are kind of beaten down. Maybe not kind of. They're beaten down by the job search, by being unemployed. How do you help those people?
So, even myself, I've been through a lot of different, right, whether it's a life transition or myself, right, when it seems like life is just having its way with me. And so I first just take the time to listen, right? what have they gone through? Why are they down? Why do they feel defeated? Why are they stressed? And once I get a good feel for that, then we can get clarity on, okay, what's next and what looks best for you. So the first part is really just listening, right? Because I can't make a roadmap if I don't, if I don't have everything I need. And so that's typically mine. Is like once I get an idea, then I'm like, okay, let's make a plan. And what I do is not only do I make the plan, but a lot of times they're not shown how to implement it once they finished working with me. So I take it very, very, very personally that I want to show them how they can do it themselves. Because once they know how to do it themselves, they feel empowered, right? They're like, okay, hey, I can do this on my own. But I'll hold their hands through that process because, I mean, I will tell you, and there's many times in life, I'm like, God, hold my hand like I'm a little child in the store who was trying to get away and get
Yeah.
like, so I
Yes.
do that proverbially with people because we really it's a scary world. It's a scary, confusing, disorienting world sometimes. So if they can feel some peace with me, like that's super important.
Oh my gosh. I love everything about what you just said. I really do, because you're bringing this level of compassion to your job that I've not seen before. Ever. I've never seen that before. And I wish more recruiters were like you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Now, have you seen any changes in how people are showing up when they come to you since this terrible pandemic has started?
Yes and no, right? So at the beginning of it, people were very scared. They were scared, they were trepid because it was something new. Now people are a bit more confident, right? Now that the vaccines are rolling out, people feel like they have a little bit more control. So the only difference that I would say is just from the time period. They're a bit more confident, but they're vulnerable, right? And even when I hear them talk, I hear a higher level of vulnerability than I heard even 2 or 3 years ago, right? Because we've all seen the fragility of life, right? How fragile life really is and how human we really are. And so I hear a lot more of that, which I'm a little happier about. I think we had stepped away from that, but that's really the biggest difference.
Oh, that's really interesting. And I guess that makes sense. I like hearing that people are more confident now, which gives me more confidence
Right.
in the future of our economy. So that's really good to know. Thank you for sharing that. When I think about some of the times that I have been looking to a recruiter for help, I know that I was feeling overwhelmed, I guess would be the best word. Overwhelmed by the job search. And there was one point in my life where I was seeking out a recruiter because I was unemployed. But I was also going through this process of trying to come to grips with why I left my prior employment. And I was having a really hard time with that. I was having a hard time making the distinction between I feel terrible about what happened to me at this workplace that caused me to need to leave. And do I feel bad because I'm not working?
Right.
And I was kind of in this spiral that eventually turned into me refusing to take a job at all. My husband loved it. I was refusing to take a job at all. I did I won't say absolutely nothing, but I did very, very little. I did, some contract work. I worked some very small cases for myself, just to keep money coming in. Right. But I was definitely very far removed from the I'm working 60 hours a week, I'm running, hustling, and all of that, which had become my personality. I had gotten, I had been, girl, I was there for so long that and I write about this sometimes because it was terrible and I hope other people don't do it. But my career was essentially my personality. It was everything that I had. And so when I was in this position where I could no longer take being at this company and I left, and then I couldn't figure out what to do next because I was so traumatized by that experience, I was just like, well, who am I now? Mm-hmm. Like, I know I don't want to go through that again. Mm-hmm. But how do I figure out how to move forward? Mm-hmm. And it was the craziest feeling. And it paralyzed me for quite a long time. Like I said, I was, working my own firm for about 8 months and not enjoying any of it. I hated every second of doing that. And it made me think that I didn't want to own my own business, which is just, it was nonsense because I'm happy as a clam right now. But, I was just in the wrong place. But when you find people like that, if you find people in that position, how do you have that conversation with them? Because thankfully, I've been going to a therapist for the longest time. I mean, I don't even know how long. But she was able to tell me that I was grieving. I was grieving the loss of all these things that I'd had before. Mm-hmm. And even though it was the right decision and I didn't want to go back, right? It was still, you've still lost something. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so when she told me that was grief, I was so confused. Mm-hmm. I was like, oh, that's what this is. So when you have people come to you, do you recognize grief in them? Do you tell them it's grief?
Oh, yes. Let me tell you, my clients come to me. So, right, to give like a little bit, I guess like a 30-second excerpt, you understand, right, Winter? I have lived in 6 or 7 places, another continent, married, divorced, 2 children, corporate America, company. So I have been through a lot of different,
I see.
For sure. So I know what it looks like. And so when I have clients that come in, I always say, for us to be able to partner, for me to be able to be of value, you've got to be honest with yourself. And those thoughts that you're uncomfortable with, even if you don't tell them to me, you've got to be committed to being honest with yourself so that we can move forward, right? It almost is in like this very therapeutic or therapy way, because here's the thing, right, Winter, where we show up in one area, we show up in all. So you ever find people who are really kind to people in their personal life, and then they're really kind professionally? It just always, it looks a little bit different. Or if we move really fast in our personal life, we typically move really fast in our professional life. So I really take this like diagnostic approach when I'm bringing in clients and when I'm working with people to say, okay, I'm going to need you to be really honest. And I need you to know that you're talking to someone who has walked a lot of different paths. So there is no judgment. I live in a glass house just like you. It just looks different. That's it. And so I want them to feel comfortable knowing that however they really feel about what just took place, whether it's grief and what happened, because you'll find it could be a child that's gone wayward, or a divorce, or a marriage, or a new baby, or, and so once we get honest, then I'm able to say, okay, now let's pivot and let's just take one step at a time. It's like, I know you see this elephant, but you gotta eat it piece by piece. And so that's how I like to approach it.
I'm going to say this one more time, but I love that.
Oh, is it? Look, I do this every day because, right, you're filling me up. It will be a podcast. You can listen to it all the time. I love that too. Oh my God.
it's so, and when I tell you, like, I'm not blowing smoke. I literally never had a recruiter say anything of the sort, ever care about what was going on with me. And I've never heard anyone else say that this recruiter really helps me out. Like, never, never have I ever heard that. So I'm loving everything about that. I think it is the right way to go about it. I've never heard anyone say anything of the sort, to actually work through that grief process with someone, which I can only imagine makes them a better client. And would cause them to refer you to other people. You're really dealing with the whole person at that point. Yeah. And I think more people need to do that, because we all experience that terrible situation where this job is just not for me. And I don't want to hear from the recruiter who I've come to because I need help. I don't want to hear, but you've moved around a couple times. I did. Now, do you actually want to know why? Or are we judging winter today? Which one are we doing?
Right.
And it's one thing to want to know the actual reason, which I would happily tell you as the recruiter, but it typically comes across as a very judgmental question resulting in a very judgmental conversation.
Yeah. And that's right. And I'm honest when I'm recruiting. So I'll ask, okay, now I know this employer is going to want to know a year, every 2 years. Tell me why is that? So opening up the floor, because I'm going to tell you, Winter, there are some people that just job hop, right? And then there are other people where it's just life, right? Or there are other people who they've been trying to promote. So everybody's got a story, and I need to know that story so that I can be honest with the client and then let them make the choice.
Exactly. And when I was going through the employment process, I worked in Atlanta as an attorney for a long time. I've been here since 2009. And my entire career was about becoming a mediator. The entire career. Wow. So I was constantly trying to get more experience, better experience, different experience. I wanted to try this out. I wanted to try that out. And I would go to these law firms and I would interview, and they would seem like amazing, perfect fit because they had all the different things that I wanted to do. But then when it got down to it, it was like, oh, well, I really like your work, so I want you to just stay here with me. I don't want you to work for so-and-so. I don't want you to try such and such. Wow. I don't want you to go do that. And so it was often very stifling. Very stifling, very disappointing. And I know that happens to so many lawyers. And it upsets me. It hurts my heart to think that there are partners or managers who are trying, and maybe not intentionally, but the result is that they're keeping someone from becoming who they want to be. And to, realize their full potential. And then I feel even worse for people who allow that to happen or who aren't in a position to change what's going on. And so, yes, that looked like me changing firms every 2-3 years because I wanted and needed to go do something else. Nobody ever asked me, what's the ultimate goal here? Right. Never. No one ever asked me. They were just like, oh, well, you didn't like that place? Well, what happened? Did you do something? Did so-and-so do something? Yes, they would ask me oh, so the partner that you worked for, tell me about him. Do I need to know about him? I'm like, there's nothing to know.
It's just time to move on. That's it.
Right.
That's it.
Right. And that whole, why do you want this job? Because I like to eat. I don't know.
Because I'm really right. And it's funny you said that though, right? Because depending on where people are in their career, well, actually, no, that's not true. Whenever I talk to someone, because it depends, right? But typically my clients are, they've probably been working for like 5 or 7 years. And I'm like, okay, so I need you to understand this next step you take is super important for the trajectory of your life. Like
Right.
this is going to dictate your life. Don't think of it as just like so be very clear about what you want to do. And I always like to say, okay, when you finish working, I call it like a career obituary. What do you want that ending title to look like? And then we'll create a plan to get you there. Because a lot of people are like just looking 5 years. I'm like, no. We've got to look when you finish working, where do you want to end? And once we know the end, we have a beginning, a starting point, or like a launching pad.
Absolutely. Again, you've blown me away. I know nobody was ever interested in like where I was trying to be or what I was trying to accomplish. Never. I very much felt like I was just there to line their pockets. Period. Which was always very obvious and very off-putting. So then I wouldn't continue to work with them. So, I mean, I think everybody needs to be working like you and with you, really.
And I can kind of focus on, here's what happens too, you have me thinking, is that a lot of people are always thinking about the future and they don't stay in the present. So they're rushing a lot to get to the next step. When this has been recent, I've realized you really got to focus on the moment, like the minute, the moment, not even like, don't even think about the next hour. I mean, of course you can, from a proverbial sense, but a lot of people are just like, all right, let me be done talking to them so I can move on to the next thing. And I'm like, okay, how can I fill up this one person? Because I'm a I understand that we don't know what life is going to bring us. Because I will tell you, the way my life has gone, I would be it's been very shocking. So I am one that knows, hey, let me treat this person as if, and they only matter right in this moment. And so that I think has a lot to do with it too, is I'm very invested in them for that time, right? I'm not having anticipatory anxiety about the next thing, which a lot of people do have.
Yes, anticipatory anxiety.
Well, yeah, most people have anxiety because they're always anticipating the next trauma that's going to happen. We're a society of we like to bring trauma on ourselves, right? We think of the next trauma that's coming, or the next stress that's coming, or how my children are. No, I'm like, thank you, God, that I was able to wake up and walk and talk and breathe. Oh, thank you that I was able to grab some tea, that there was even some tea. So I like to really be thankful for the little things, which in turn, like, thank you that this person is even talking to me, that they're giving me the privilege to come into their lives. That's a privilege, at least to me.
Wow. Yes. So I know that you've mentioned that this has happened because of things that happen in your life. And I mean, I'm an empath because of things that have happened in my life, clearly. But what do you think specifically, if you know, and if you care to share, what do you think really brought you to this point where you can live in the moment?
Well, that's a good question, a loaded one. I realized that I was so futuristic with so many things in my life that I didn't give things time to mature. Whether it was my life, whether it was some friendships or whatever, relationships. And so in relationships, whether it's career, friend, a mate. And so I realized if you're not in the present moment and you're in the future, then you're like pushing fast forward. And what happens when you kind of when you cook everything on high, like I did for the first 30 years of my life when I cooked everything, it burns or it's not as good. And so I said, Jazmin, if you cook everything on high, you're going to miss the process and it's not going to be as good. So stop cooking your life on high, right? Don't boil everything on high. Don't simmer. Just let it simmer. And so I like to look at life like a simmering. Like, let's let it cook slowly. And then you'll see that, it'll be more flavorful, you will be more grateful, and you'll be more aware. And so I just take that same process and I apply it to my professional life too.
That makes so much sense when you say it that way. Don't cook everything on high, because I cook everything on high.
I told you. do not ask me to cook any Thanksgiving dinner because now remember, I'm a recovering cooking on high. I'm recovering not out of the program. I am recovering. Okay. So we'll get there. Remember, give me some time because man, hi, it's the process.
It'll be fine. It'll just cook faster. No, it doesn't. Oh my God. I saw this meme. It was hilarious because it was so spot on. And it said, it was like directions, cook at 300 for 8 hours. And then underneath it said, Black people. I'm putting this on 350.
Boom, right?
I was like, oh my God, I do ignore directions and just put everything on 350.
350 it's 350 or 425. That's it. Those are only two temperatures.
Oh my God, yes, indeed. Those are the only two things I know. Like if I know it needs to be real high, it's 425. But otherwise, it's 350. Don't try to get me to do anything lower than that. I'm not doing 375. It's 350.
350, 425. That's it. That's it.
Yes, and so that meme was the first time I ever considered that that's like a cultural thing. My husband, he's not Black. He actually follows the directions on the packaging. And it aggravates me so much because I'm like, why are we sitting here still waiting on this food? Just put that thing on 350.
350 or 425 and it's like burnt, right? Don't be like me. Sometimes I'll fall asleep. I'm like, oh, it's burnt.
I've absolutely done that too.
It's crispy.
So, needless to say, I am not in charge of our regular meals. Not at all.
Yeah,
not at all.
Tom is doing that.
Oh, that poor man. Anyway, he's fine. He's really fine.
He is, which he knows. You're lovely. You are lovely. You have a spirit.
Oh, thank you.
Warm spirit. He knows he's blessed.
Thank you. I mean, we should talk every day.
The feeling is mutual. That's what I'm saying. The feeling is mutual. What's the topic tomorrow? Yeah. Yeah, no.
Yeah, I love what you said though about safe spaces. You are your only safe space. Now, I can't remember if you said that in the pre-interview or while we were recording, but I love that concept. And it reminds me that we need to care for ourselves. Mm-hmm. We have to care for ourselves. You are in charge of how you feel, what you do, how you react, anything that you allow in your space, into your mind, into your heart, all of that. And that is such a difficult concept to live in. Like, it's easy to be like, you're your only safe space. And be like, that's right. But to really, really understand that, it's hard. It's really hard because you want to rely on other people. You want to reach out and be like, well, this person should really be helping me with this. And if they don't help me with this, and I'm angry about it, but it's really about you. Create that space for yourself. You can only rely on that within yourself. Am I getting that right? The way you meant it?
Right. You're getting it right. And the reason why a lot of times we don't make ourselves a safe space, you'd be shocked, right? Which I can't even, this is a whole nother topic, but you'd be shocked. A lot of people have self-esteem issues. Hence, I didn't realize I had one because we always think that it looks like, oh, I don't think I'm pretty. No, it's that, do I really trust in myself? Will I really, right? Like, and so, that safe space you have to practice. You have to put yourself in different situations where you're like, you know what? I'm betting on myself. I am betting on myself. And like I said, I have a strong faith. So it's guiding me. And again, it doesn't mean I can't love, right? I have children that I love and parents that I love. But I'm even happier now that I've embraced me as a safe space because there's not all this pressure on them. Like, that's not fair. Right? So it's like, I realize that I am my only safe space. And so it is freeing, to be quite honest. Right. It is very.
Yeah.
And so but you are your safe space. Trust that you can move forward in your career. And don't be afraid to take a chance. You only grow in the stretch. You'll never grow in comfort. You only grow in the stretch.
I'm writing that down.
Never grow in comfort. That just won't happen, right? You'll never lose weight being comfortable. You'll never get a degree or accomplish it. No, you have to stretch yourself to grow.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Oh, that is so true. I think about all the times that I've had the best growth or the biggest breakthrough. It's always some point in my life where I was completely uncomfortable with what I was doing or what was going on. Mm-hmm. And I love it. Oh my God. I've said that like 50 times today. It's just so true. I'm thinking back to that time period. It was 2015, I believe, 2015. And I was so uncomfortable. I couldn't move forward. Mm-hmm. I was stuck. Mm-hmm. And then when I finally decided that that's not how I wanted to continue to live the rest of my life, like I cannot literally do this forever, I was finally able to put myself out there and look for a job. So I hadn't wanted to before. Mm-hmm. And, I have been so lucky that any job that I've ever had, it's just kind of fallen into my lap. Mm-hmm. And that's nice. It's so nice. And I really attribute that to always being willing to put myself out there. Mm-hmm. Like never really worrying about how somebody's going to react to it. Because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what other people think, right? This is about me.
Self-esteem. That is great self-esteem. That's what it all is. The underbelly is self-esteem.
Pats self on back. Mm-hmm. I had no idea, but I'm proud of myself now. Yeah. And then, we've talked about this, my personal story with mediation and everything. And, when I finally left law firms, I finally stopped litigating. It was something that I had wanted to do for a long time. And then the opportunity arose to go do it. And I still couldn't just force myself to go do it.
Right.
And so, my faith always requires me to, and this is the silliest thing, which is I need to get better at, but it's always like, God, please help me get out of this because I can't do it myself. Help me see a way out. Yeah. Help me do this. I can't do it on my own. I'm too comfortable here. Mm-hmm. Please, but I know that I need something different. Mm-hmm. And then of course the whole world goes to hell. So for me, immediately everything just went right to shit. I can't even say it another way. Mm-hmm. And I was so uncomfortable. That leaving, moving, and going to do what I knew I wanted to do anyway was the easier thing.
Mm-hmm. Many times, most times, the best things are on the other side of fear, right? Will Smith has said that. Plenty of people have said that really the best things in life are on the other side of fear. So I highly encourage you when you're getting really afraid. It's one thing to be not at peace with something, but if you're fearful, then that means it's something great on the other side.
Yes, I'm writing that down too. You have been an amazing guest. I feel so inspired right now. I don't know what I should go do. Like maybe I should go running.
Thank you so much. No, pleasure's all mine. Seriously.
All right. Thank you, everybody, for listening. Thank you, Jazmin. I hope you will follow Jazmin on all the socials. They will be in the show notes. Thank you for listening to the Mediate Now. Be sure to subscribe wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube. Music and audio editing provided by Encompass Podcast Studio. Take our advice. You will improve your entire life.